This is an updated showcase for the Universal Character Customization System for UE5, which you can get at the Epic Games Marketplace, link in the video description below. We will cover the main customization features as well as how to get started. Now this might be a long tutorial, so please make sure to have a look at the timestamps on the video description. This is the default customization scene in which you can create, save and load your own characters, but you can also change how the scene looks like. So if I head over to the background option here, I can change the image that's on the background. So if I select this one, you will see that the character looks different because of the lighting. I can also rotate this scene, which will actually affect the sun position, and I can also change the brightness as well as the contrast of the scene. So the idea here is that you should try to approximate how the lighting in your game looks like to make sure that you can control the character's appearance. On the second option, you can store and load your own character presets. So if I click on this box here, you will see that there are all the characters I have saved, and if I just select one and click load, not only the character will change, but also all the sliders will adapt to the character I just selected. There are many sections with different parameters, so let's have a look at the first one. Here I can select the character's gender, and I can define how the skin will look like. So you can see that we can tint the skin, we can also change the saturation, the exponent, and we can also define the roughness of the skin, so we can get a wet skin or less reflective skin. We can also change the age of the character here, and we can also change the muscle tone. So if I increase this, let's just remove the armor, you will see that this character will look a bit more toned if I increase this slider here. And of course I can and should combine all these sliders together. Now this is not generating any changes in the topology of the character. I'm just changing the skin shader. Now it's also possible to add skin mask on top of the skin, and there are two options at this moment, but you can add your own if you have a Substance Painter or any other software. You will see that it's very easy to integrate, and we will see that on separate tutorials. But I can also change the opacity of the skin mask, and I can change the color. It's also possible to modify how rough the mask is. Finally, on top of the skin mask, we can add a dirt mask. So I'm going to increase the opacity here. You will see that it's actually on top of the previous mask. And what we can do here is we can change the roughness. So this right now looks like mud. But if I want to, I can reduce the normal intensity to make it look smooth. And then I can change the color to look a bit more like blood. So you have 4 masks at this moment, and you can of course add your own. It's also possible to change how this will blend with the skin. You can do that with the normal the dirt exponent here. Finally, it's also possible to add a normal effect on the skin. So if I increase this here, you will see that the skin looks like burned, and there are additional options here as well. In the second section, you will have most morph targets. So the first part, you can change the head shape, so I can make a thin or a fat face. I can change the eyebrows angle. I can change the shape of the ears. So right now it's actually behind the hair, but if I increase the size and change the angle, you will see some of the ears. I can make it more pointy. It's also possible to do changes on the cheek size, the cheekbones width, the shape of the chin. I can add a double chin here, for example. I can also modify the jaw. These are some sliders for the nose as well. It's also possible to change the lips, so you have additional targets here. And finally, we have this bone structure section. So here we are not changing any morph targets, we're actually modifying the bones of the character. So if I increase this option here, you will see that the armor is actually adapting to the new shape. And that's very useful, but you can see that it's actually deforming the armor here. So I think the changes here should be subtle. You shouldn't go too far to the extreme here, but you can get a lot of variation. You can change the head size, the neck length, the size of the neck as well. It's possible to change the length of the arms, fingers, the height of the character. For example, if I want to increase the leg size, you will see that the armor is adapting here, but the skirt is actually starting to deform. So we don't have any clipping, but it doesn't look so good when we go to the extreme here. So changes here should be kept to a minimum, unless you're going for monsters of other creatures. On the eyes section, we also have some morph targets, so we can define the shape of the eyes. We can change the height, how separated the eyes are. You can change the depth as well. It's also possible to change the colors. So here we can define the iris color. We can define the sclera color as well. It's also possible to do additional modifications. I'm going to add more zoom here. You can see that we can change the iris scale, we can change the pupil as well, and you can of course do these changes at runtime. It's also possible to change the veins intensity, and we can also make the eyes glow. So if I increase this intensity here and start to select the color, you will see that the eyes will start to shine, and this is using the bloom effect, the post-processing bloom. And it's also possible to change to make this an animated glow. So if I increase this activate options here, you will see that it's actually animating. There are some very cool examples and some presets. Let's head over to the hair section. If you click here, you will find 11 different hairstyles, and there are short and long hairstyles here, and you can define a lot of parameters for them. So we can change the color, but we can also change the shape of different hairstyles. So you will see the scattering option here, and that controls how much light is absorbed by the hair. So it should be high for blonde hairs, and for dark hairs it should be lower. You can change the roughness, the specular, so that defines how shiny the hair looks like. And it's also possible to have different colors for different parts of the hair. So right now you can also define the position in which this is going to transition to the other color. And it's also possible to change the contrast. So you can have a sharp transition or a smooth transition here. So let's bring back everything to default levels. There are many additional options. You can add white hairs and add reflections and more. And you can also change the length of the hair right here. And I can do this separately for the fringe as well. So you can see that this hairstyle now looks way different than the default one. In the facial hair, you can define the eyebrows, the eyelashes, you can define the thickness of each one of them. You can change the color as well, and you can change the beard of the character. So there are mesh beards here, there are some mustaches as well, and it's the same as with the hairstyles. You can change the scattering, you can add white hairs here. You can change the size of the beard as well, and it's also possible to have a skin beard here. So this is just painted on top of the skin. It doesn't look so good. It might be useful for some characters. It's much cheaper than the actual mesh beard, because this is just an effect on top of the skin. You can also define how the inner mouth of the character looks like. So if I add some zoom here and open the character's mouth, you will see that we have teeth, the tongue, and what we can do here is we can change the position of, just to make sure that we have a better look. And then we can start changing the colors. We can change the color of the teeth. We can do the same for the gums and the tongue. And it's also possible to add some dirt to the teeth. We can change the shape here. So if I want to make a vampire, I can change the size of the canines versus the incisors. I can change the orientation of the teeth. I can add some gap between them, and this is very useful when you're making creatures. So let's see this example here. You will see how the teeth of the character look like. It's also possible to add decals on top of the skin. So if I can select them here, and I can change the color and the opacity. So let's say we want to add a wound to this character. Let's select the facial scar here. We're going to increase the opacity, and what we can also do is move this. So I can change the position here, and I can scale it upwards. I can rotate this as well, and I can also define how it's going to blend with the skin with this the exponent option here. In regards to the clothing section, we have 7 different clothing slots that you can use to add your own clothing as well. The system currently has over 50 unique skeletal meshes for both characters, so it's actually over 100, and you can combine most of them. We have both medieval and contemporary clothing here. So we also have winter caps here, and we have different styles of armor, but it's also possible to use, we have rags here, and we have as well contemporary clothing. We have shirts and so on. The final section that we have is the randomizer, and it is a very handy tool that you can use to get random variations of the same character. And what you can also do is define which parameters you're going to change. So let's say that I want to keep this hairstyle. I'm going to just untick this option here. So now when I click on randomize, the hairstyle will be the same. And I can do this for every single parameter, but I can also define how much each one of these changes how much they can change. So if I click on, let's say I want the age to change a lot, I can bring this to the maximum, and let's say I want the skin color to change as well. So if I now click on randomize, I will get very different skin colors and very different age as well. So let's say that we just created a character and now we want to save it. So what we have to do is head over to this section, selecting which database we want to save it, and just select the name. Then we're going to click on Save Preset here. I'm going to close this, and then we're going to search for the refresh tool, which is right here. So I'm going to just right click it and hit on refresh. And then what we're going to have, if we go back to the customization section here, if I click on the load section, I will see my new preset here. I can just load it and do any changes I need and just save new characters as well. And I can also use this in game. So let's head over to the showcase section. In here, if we just hit on play, we're going to, this is the third person character. This is a custom version of the one made by Epic. And you can see that we have many presets here. We have some tutorials. And this character that we are using, if I just click on the character and look for the UCS component, you will see that we're using this preset. So if I want to change it to use the new one, I can just search for it here and hit on play again, and then we are using the new character. It's also possible to change these characters at runtime, so this is an example of how you can do so. Each time I step here, I'm going to change the character. And we can also change different hairstyles here. Now what we also have is this section that has some very small code snippets. So this is how this is changing the preset. This is just selecting random clothing, the hairstyles, and we're changing the age of the character here, and here we're changing the muscles of the character. So if we want to see how this is made, we have to go to the level blueprint right here, just open it, and here we will find the code for each one of this. So here is how we can select a random preset, this is how we can select random clothing, and so on. Let's have a look at how you can add your own animations to UCS. So if the animation is from UE5, then you can just use it, there are no issues. But if, like most people, you have animations made for the UE4 mannequin, what you can do is retarget them. And it's very simple. So what I've done here is I downloaded some animations from the Sword and Shield anim set, which is an amazing set made by Kubold. And I'm going to retarget one of these animations. So let's say that we want to retarget this one. So what I'll do here is right click, retarget animation asset, and here I'm going to select the RTG UE4 money to UE5 money. So this is the retarget tool we want to use, and it's important because it's going to retarget the root motion as well. Going to add a prefix here and click on retarget. So now if I open this asset, you will see that it's working okay with the new mannequin. And let's just create a montage. Let's head over to the third person character here and just we're going to do a very simple thing here. We're going to say that whenever I click the mouse button, we're going to execute the montage. So here I'm going to connect this, and on the skeletal mesh component I'm going to select the UE5 mesh here, and on the montage we're going to select the one we just created. So let's hit compile, let's hit save, and let's see if it's working properly. So if I click the left mouse button, you can see that actually it's executing the animation properly, and it's actually moving because the animation has root motion. The latest version of UCS provides some options that you can use to make sure that the specific hairstyle you're using matches, can fit any type of clothing. So what we can do here, if we head over to the shape option, you will see that this debug scaling mask option, and if I increase this, you will see that the hair has been divided in two parts, the green and the red. And I can also change how this mask, the angle and the offset of this mask, so I can move it up or down. And I can use this to generate different scaling. So let's say I want to change the width here of the bottom of the hair. I can do this. You will see it's only affected the green option, and if I want to change the red one, I have to change it here. So and if I start changing the offset of the mask, you will see how that affects the scaling, right? So let's say that we want this character to have the winter cap, which is found here. You will see that there's a lot of clipping here, and we want to fix that. So let's go back to the hair option, let's debug the scaling mask, and let's try to make sure that it fits the winter beanie. So let's change the offset a bit, and let's start scaling the hair. So something like this. And let's do an additional change here because the hair is way too close to the head. So let's move the fringe a bit forward. And we're almost there. We have some clipping here, so let's change the depth of the bottom of the hair to make sure we're okay. Let's make sure We can bring it a bit forwards to mitigate that issue. And now I think we're okay. The only issue that we have is on the red hair, the red part here, and what we can do is we can just hide it, right? So let's come here and let's remove the scaling mask, and I think it looks great now. Now there might be an additional problem, and if we increase the wind strength here and change the direction, you will see that there's a lot of clipping because of the wind and the hair movement. So what we can also do is we can define which parts of the hair are going to move. So let's remove the wind turbine here. You will see this is what the hair looks like now. And what we're going to do is head over to the, let's just unhide the hair. So if you go to the movement restriction option here and debug the restriction mask, you will see that there are some white parts of the hair here. Those parts are actually the ones that will be moving with the wind. So what we can do is increase this option, this restrict upper movement option, and then we can play around with the movement mask. So if I move this down, you will see that only the white parts of the hair are actually moving. And we can also change, of course, the angle of this movement. So we want something like this. Let's bring back the wind turbine. I think we should be fine now, and let's just don't forget to hide this part. And let's remove the restriction, the debug restriction mask. So that's how you can adapt many different hairstyles. It's not perfect, but I think it will work for most cases. Let's have a look at how you can make players customize their own characters. And to do so, you can have a look at the UCS player creation map. And this map right here should not be used by the game designer. So whenever you have you're making NPCs or player characters or whatever, you should be using the design map. The player creation map is only just to be shown as an example of and can be used by players. So the way this works is that instead of storing these presets inside preset databases on these data tables here, which is how it works when you use the normal map, we are going to be storing characters created by the player on a save game. So if I hit play here, you will see that this section looks different. And let's do some changes here. And let's save this as this save preset 1. So if I hit save, I can just access the file that I just created. So this is instant. And if I want to use this, I will go to the showcase map, and I'm going to select this character, and on the UCS component, instead of using the data table reference here, I'm going to set the name of the preset I stored here on the save game reference. So if I hit play, you will see that I'm now using the character I just created. Let's have a look at how we can change the character presets. So the first option is just we can head over to the UCS component and just select whatever preset we want to use. Now we hit play, and then we are just using that character. Now if we want to change this at runtime, there are some options we have. So I'm going to open the level group in here, and I'm going to make a reference to this character by right-clicking here and selecting create a reference. And I'm going to come from this sequence, which starts at the start of the game. So this is on begin play, and we're going to wait a few seconds so we can see the effect. We're going to wait 3 seconds, and then we're going to call a function which is the change preset at runtime. And it's very simple. So what we have to do here is we're going to make a data table handle here. We're going to select the data table that we want. So let's say that we know it's on the presets database, the first one. And let's say that we want to select this character here. So I'm going to just copy the name, and paste it on the row name here. Let's hit compile, save, and play again. So after a few seconds, you can see that we have now changed the character preset. Now we can also do this with save game characters. So if the player stored a character, as we've done a couple minutes ago, I can also load it in this way. So I'm going to just copy this, and 3 seconds after we do this, we're going to do the same. But now we're going to load the character that we stored in a save game. So we're going to take this option here, and on the save game preset I'm going to just copy the name of the preset. So let's hit compile and save. Now if we hit play again, after 3 seconds we're going to select one preset, and after 3 more seconds we're going to select a different preset.